Hello, friends. Today the news has come that Big Five, yes, two companies from the Big Five in the media landscape, Omnicom Group and Interpublic Group, have actually been now merging. So, what is the repercussions? The senior management, leadership levels, and also the managerial staffs are now going to be axed. Yes, that is the story of the new corporate developments that are coming up because of the AI disruption and the other things into the market. So, therefore, Omnicom Group and Interpublic Group, the two biggest of the top five media houses, are merging, leading to a large scale firing. So now this poses a very serious question to the investor fraternity is, are you ready and insulated from the disruption that is happening due to the AI? Yes. So when we are talking about, it could be AI, it could be the cost pressures, it could be companies merging together or trying to get more of the catalytic synergies out of the M&A, but the net result is the people who are in their 40s and early 50s are the one which are actually facing the which have actually to bear the burn. So therefore, the question today is, the stable salary is over. Yes, the era of stable salary is over. Your financial plan must improve and must actually evolve with this. So what is happening? Normally earlier there used to be a stable salary. So if I am getting $100, I am spending $30, I am saving $10 month on month, month on month. So then you talk about insurance, mutual funds, SIP, so and so forth. But if your salary itself is not stable, what financial plan or should be there in place in order to take care of your income volatility, job volatility, and all that matter? So for decades, the mental model was simple. The higher you climb, the safer you were. The seniority equated to the job security. The career paths were linear and predictable, leading to a stable retirement of around 58 to 60 years. Now, financial planning was simply based on a consistently rising salary and predictable bonus cycles. However, if we see today what has happened, the advertising industry is a live case study of this broken assumption. AI integration, yes, handling the large chunks of creative and analytical work. Consolidation, yes, global groups are merging entities, eliminating overlapping functions. Cost rationalization, that is, senior and C-suite roles are now the primary cost cutting lever. New models, yes, freelancers, contract roles are now replacing the permanent teams. So, therefore, the uncomfortable truth is many senior professionals now carry the more income risk than the mid level managers they actually manage. So, therefore, this pattern is not unique. It is spreading across the white collar industry. So, if we are looking at advertising, we're looking at IT and tech, we're talking about media and entertainment, BFSI and fintech, consulting, design, and professional services. Now, therefore, your financial plan is built on an assumption that is now outdated. Yes, the era of high income, low risk has become a high income as well as high vulnerability. So, therefore, you must now model three inescapable career shocks into your finances. Income volatility is the new normal. Your career runway is compressing. And thirdly, the re entry often means a significant pay reset. Now, what does this mean? If we look at the first aspect, which is called the income volatility, slowing increments, shrinking bonuses, quiet exits via performance improvement plans, PIPs जिसे हम कहते हैं. Severance is now typically only 2 to 3 months. So therefore, this career runaway, if we talk about being compressing, we mean that consolidation is cutting entire leadership layers and removing duplicate senior roles. A 20-year runway could abruptly become just a 20 to 12-year uncertain one. And also, when we're talking about the re-entry, even if you get again a job back, you expect a potential compensation reset of around 30 to 50% lesser salary or package than your earlier high. So therefore, the shift to contract or freelance model is happening more and more. Premium pay is reserved for AI literate, tech integrated profiles, or the people who are of so much specialization that they are too much tougher to replace with. So therefore, traditional financial plans are not built for this. A new architecture is required. Standard planning, that is SIP insurance, is insufficient because it rarely accounts for income shocks. It doesn't take into consideration of career breaks or reskilling that is actually needed. The solution is not to tweak the old plan, but to re-architect, redesign it from the ground up based on the four new pillars of resilience. So what are the four pillars? First, there has to be a dual buffer. Second, de-risk lifestyle. The lifestyle itself has to be de-risked. Thirdly, there has to be a portfolio overlay. And lastly, there has to be a reskilling capital for that. So therefore, When we talk about pillar 1, that is build 2 separate buffers for survival as well as reinvention. What does this mean? This means that first, the 2 separate buffers. One is emergency fund, 12 to 18 months for essential expenses, and then there's a career transition fund, 6 to 12 months of key fixed obligations. So now, when we talk about emergency fund, it could be to keep the lights on. It buys you time, rents, EMIs, utilities, school bills, runs, premiums, essential costs. So for that, where you would like to park your funds, it could be high liquidity savings, sweep in FDs, liquid funds, money market funds, even arbitrage funds to a certain extent. But when we talk about the career transaction fund, that is 6 to 12 months for the key fixed obligations, certain non-negotiable commitments. But primarily, people also use this to park something for their own improvement or as a buffer for upskilling. Now, the second pillar is de-risk the lifestyle that is over-indexed on your employer. What does this mean? There's a vulnerability metric. That is, if the EMI plus my lifestyle expense, yes, my EMIs and my lifestyle expense is greater than 40 to 45% of my net take-home pay, the lifestyle is too tightly tied to my current salary. So therefore, I have to revisit the major upgrades, the house, car, as they rely on expected future bonuses. Now consider selective repayment for the high cost loans. Recalibrate discretionary spending to regain flexibility. Yes, the core principle of this pillar number 2 is a lifestyle calibrated to your peak salary is fragile. Your lifestyle cannot be calibrated to your peak salary. A lifestyle calibrated to the realistic AI adjusted earning capacity is actually a resilient. So therefore, that aspect has to be taken into consideration when we talk about the lifestyle. Then it brings us to the pillar number 3, that is integrate an employment risk overlay into your portfolio. So what does this mean? Employment risk overlay. The concept is traditional asset allocation, that is risk appetite, goals, time horizons. All these things are not enough. You must add a layer of employment risk. The practical application, if I may tell you, is ring fence it. Secure at least 5 to 10 years of essential expenses in low volatility, income oriented asset. That means while you are actually structuring your portfolio, you could have certain like a rental property. You could have which is technically debt free, or you could have an interest bearing assets, which will actually be an income generating assets. So like REITs or InvITs for that matter. So secure at least 5 to 10 years of essential expenses in low volatility, income oriented assets, high quality debt, short duration funds. That is actually because this is technically a step which many talk about using or calling what we say income substitution or financial independence. It may not be beating the inflation, but when you have other assets also there, the average returns are better than inflation. And as you grow, then it is not the capital growth, it is capital preservation, net of all that inflation that is there into the market. So therefore, reduce consideration, avoid overexposure to your own company's stock or sector specific funds. Is your wealth tied to your ESOPs and you think that, okay, I have X amount of ESOPs and I am well off? Or do you have money invested into certain sectors, and if the sector is going on a downtrend, so your wealth will actually go down, and in case you lose the job during that period, you cannot just pull your hand inside and get that money out, because then you will be actually writing off much of the losses. So therefore, the critical stress test is, can your financial plan survive this scenario? That has to be the stress test. Have you done the stress test on your portfolio? 12 month with zero salary, a simultaneous 20 to 30% equity market correction. That means how the stress test works. It is, say, for example, you have lost the job and you have to take care of your expenses for the next 12 months. During the same 12 months, the market has fallen by around 20 to 30%. And if you now, after 12 months, you have got a job, the job is at a 30 to 40% of discount or lower than your last peak salary take home. Now, this is a stress test that you have to take as far as the finances is concerned. So, is your financial plan attuned to that or not? So, therefore, this brings us to the fourth pillar, that is treat your reskilling as a defined financial goal. Yes. The premise is the same market laying off traditional roles is paying a premium for the new skills. Reskilling is a financial asset. It is not a discretionary cost. So therefore, you need to create a dedicated annual skill budget. You can keep 1 to 2 lakhs separately for each year basis, or you can keep 2 to 4 year per year. That depends actually on the rank at which you are working, the profile at which you are working, the type of reskilling you need to have. So it may not be necessary that you have to, the people who are at the lower level of the job or a medium level of the job, they might need money for AI reskilling or a prompt engineering. There could be somebody who would be more inclined towards to go for data and analytics. And while others have to go for strategic and consulting programs, which actually cost higher, or giving or getting some management courses from the premium institutes. So therefore, you need to park it in short-term, low-risk instruments for easy access. So now you already plan for your child's education, but in an AI-driven world, your own continuous education deserves a line item in your financial plan, to be precise. So therefore, now we know that we have to do all these things. Then what is the operating manual? And how to use your money during unemployment without destroying it? How do you draw down on your assets can be a difference between a temporary setback as well as a permanent damage to your financial future. So therefore, the story is use a lower withdrawal rate. That means standard retirement rules of 3 to 4 years, I will withdraw every year from my portfolio, is too aggressive. You have to be more conservative. The second is tap the buckets in the right order. There is a clear disciplined sequence to follow. Thirdly, use a runaway rule, not a lifestyle rule. That means focus on buying time, not maintaining the old lifestyle. You don't have to follow a lifestyle rule. You have to go for a runway rule. And the last is rebuild methodically when the income reduce. In a very using methods, you need to rebuild when the income resumes. Suppose you have got a job, then you have to follow a certain process. Follow a plan to restore your financial architecture and the loss that you have incurred over the period. So therefore, a disciplined sequence of drawdown and the rebalancing is like that. For example, you lost a job, the market has gone down. How would you withdraw the money? The first resort is your emergency or the transition funds, that is cash, liquid funds, money market funds, even arbitrage funds for that matter, or even a short-term FDs. The second resort, if necessary, will be your long-term portfolios. And the last resort could be your retirement assets. It could be EPF, NPS, pensions, long-term damage. Yeah. And also, obviously, in NPS, withdrawal rules have also been tweaked for those. Sorry, EPS rules have also been tweaked for those who have actually left the job or lost the job. And initially, it was within a couple of months you could be able to withdraw the money, but now 1 year waiting has been there. So you also have to be factor that while you are thinking about using the resources for your expenses. So this is the drawdown sequence. Then the question comes, what is the rebuilding sequence? So when we go for rebuilding, there are the 3 buckets, 1, 2, and 3. So stop all portfolios withdrawals immediately. Secondly, because many times we take the money out of the portfolio and we need to go to Greece, we need to go to London or Asia, we don't need to go to see the twin towers, used to be twin towers in the US for that matter. So therefore, you need to withdraw all unnecessary portfolio withdrawals immediately. Second is you have to rebuild your emergency fund. You have to rebuild the career transition fund. You need to have a career transition fund, and it's one of the most important goals you need to have in your kitty. And then there has to be restore a long-term asset allocation with fresh investments. Yes, restore long-term asset allocation with fresh investments when you start getting the money. You have got the job back, then you have to follow these top 3 bucket rules. So therefore, when we talk about, like in previous slide also, the runaway rule. So what is the runaway rule in practice? Your total liquid assets and non-retirement assets. Liquid assets and long-term assets, which are not a part of your retirement kitty. You divide that with 18 to 24 months. That is your maximum monthly withdrawal you can look forward to. So therefore, your salary is not a variable. Your financial plan cannot be. So as your salary is not variable, why should your financial plan be variable? So therefore, the new reality is AI will not remove all jobs, but it will remove the predictability of the jobs. It will shorten the relevance cycles and reshape new income flows. Who wins in this environment? It is not those who have the highest CTC on the paper. It is those who build deep liquidity buffers. They risk their lifestyles and portfolios, invest in risk killing, and treat financial planning as a dynamic process. So therefore, at this point, I would like you to 3 questions to stress test your current financial reality. I comfortably handle 12 to 18 months of salary without selling my long-term assets at the wrong time. Secondly, is my lifestyle calibrated to peak salary that may not return or a conservative base I can sustain? Lastly, have I created a dedicated corpus for reinvention, to learn, to pivot, or to step into a different avatar of my career? So if the answer to any of these questions is no, or I am not sure, or I have not done it, it is time to re-architect and redesign your plan and get it implemented. So therefore, in a world of unstable careers, stable financial plan is your edge. The strategies outlined are not just defensive measures, they are the foundation that gives you the freedom to navigate the AI era with confidence. A well designed personal financial plan becomes a competitive advantage when we look at it. So, therefore, at any given point in time, you think that we do not have these things handy and that we need to revisit the plan. Anytime is a good time to at least give it a shot and start it up. Thank you so much. This is Rajat Dhar signing off.